Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Administrative Services Committee meeting of Cleveland Heights City Council. This is our meeting for October 28, 2024. I'll take a brief roll. Tony Kuda.
Here.
Jim Petrus.
Here.
And Craig Cobb. All present. The first order of business is an executive session. Could I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to motion to enter executive session to consider the appointment of a public official.
Second.
Okay, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, in case you're watching, we're going to go
You
into
have to do a roll call vote for executive session.
by hand. I just called for
Roll
that.
call vote.
President Kuda.
Yes.
Aye. Member Petrus.
Aye.
Craig Cobb. Aye. Okay. So we're going to go into an executive session that's going to take approximately 45 minutes. We will come out of executive session, and then we will have the public portion of the meeting, which will be concerning our boards, commissions, and committees. The purpose of this executive session is to discuss some applicants for one of our boards, and because it does involve at times some personal sensitive matters, that's why we go into executive session.
At some point, I took a look at the website and legislation to try to identify who is on each of the boards and commissions, how they're appointed, that sort of thing. I sent it to Addie. I don't know, this was a while ago now that I'm thinking about it. I don't know if she ever passed it along, but in case it's helpful, I could.
I had put together a description of all of these boards, but not, I mean, it needs to get updated with the current rosters.
Just don't give me the check.
Hey, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Hi, Craig.
Hello, how's it going?
Good, thank you. Look whose email I happen to have open.
Agenda, how are you
Good.
outside of Starbucks? I am really sorry for this mix-up because I know that you guys have got very important jobs. And we have you here cooling your gills.
Cooling our gills.
And we're on the air, but we're not going to start because I think some chairs aren't arriving until 6 o'clock.
Okay.
But the meeting is being broadcast.
Do you want to tee up any of these topics so people can look at them?
Jeff, you got them there. Why don't you?
I mean, this is the stuff that I took notes when I was talking.
Right.
To you.
Yeah.
And
And we actually, Addie pared it down from that. Let me.
okay.
Let me see what those questions were.
You have some. I wrote these down.
Yeah,
But you have these on the agenda.
which got pared down from the initial list that I sent Addie before. And I just thought we would cover that just in the general discussion, but. I don't want to have to repeat myself.
I understand.
Again, this is a little awkward that we're sitting here in silence.
We can,
So, everyone ready for Halloween?
so we can, go to,
Go into recess?
yeah, we can recess for 10 minutes if you want.
Yeah, we're gonna go into recess for 10 minutes and we'll resume at 6 o'clock. The official time is 6 o'clock, so we're gonna come back from recess. Thank you all so much for coming. This is a meeting that's long overdue. When Tony became council president, he had suggested that we bring in all of the chairs or vice chairs from our boards, commissions, and committees to hear from all of you about what you need from the city, how are things going, what potential changes you'd like to see, and then we would make ourselves available to answer any questions. In case you don't know, I'm Craig Cobb, and this is President Tony Kuda and Councilmember Jim Petrus. If everybody could go around the room and introduce themselves and say what board or commission or committee they're on.
I'm Tom Zitch. I chair the Board of Zoning Appeals.
I'm Denver Brooker. I chair the Architectural Board of Review.
I'm Peter Titus. I'm Parks and Recreation.
I'm Patty Substelny. I chair Citizens Advisory Committee.
I'm Maisie Adams. I'm chair of the Landmark Commission.
Aaron Ware, Transportation and Mobility.
John Barber, Climate and Environmental Sustainability Committee.
All right, thank you all for coming in. I guess first, we would want to hear from you all about any challenges that you're having, any resources that you need from the city, anything that you'd want from council. Understanding that for some of these boards or commissions or committees, you guys are really serving the administration to some extent, more so than being in an advisory capacity of city council. Some members are compensated on some of the boards and commissions. Some of you have a judicial or quasi-judicial function. But why don't we just go around the room, and if you don't have anything, you don't have anything.
Yeah, if we'll do this. It's actually pleasing, as you might guess from the spelling of my last name. I usually come last in things. Kick off. Board of Zoning Appeals, this will be a short report, I believe. I think it's functioning quite well. One thing everyone on our board wants to make clear is to express our gratitude for the planning staff, the professional staff. They do an outstanding job in helping citizens navigate the process and teeing things up for us. So just wanted to make sure I didn't miss the opportunity to give them the recognition they deserve. One thing, our work may seem somewhat routine, but one of the things that has helped us as the city goes through important development stages is I've noted in the many years I've been on the board an improvement, this is feedback to council, in the process by which the council administration manages large development contracts. There was projects. There was a time where any major project would have a plethora of variances and strong opinions among the public about the project that would manifest themselves in positions on variances, even though they should have not been controversial. When we have seen Ascend, we have seen the Cedar Lee project, we've seen others, the overall management of those projects from a zoning point of view has minimized the friction for those and did a very good job. In the Ascend project, we did not have a single variance because of the way that was managed. We had one variance on an adjoining property that was easy to dispose of. But with the Cedar Lee, again, it's working well. We see that as an improvement in simplifying the work of the Board of Zoning Appeals and managing these projects with less friction than, say, the library or, God forbid, when we had the rec center expansion, and we all lived through that. So they're going to want to note that that is something to be looked at positively as the city continues to manage large development projects. We've also noted, and we know we can't do it all in one fell swoop, but the modernization of the zoning code over time, and I think we encourage that to continue, and for council to work with staff to get that done. That gets rid of, the infamous corner side yard cases as we work with accessory buildings on properties and all the kind of routine things we handle. As we continue to modernize the code to catch it up, we're again gonna have things that are common sense that don't require the several months of waiting that homeowners often and businesses often have to wait, so that's great. The last thing we'll note, we heard of the ethics legislation that the mayor put on the table. So you have feedback from us. We looked at that in our board, and quite frankly, that's not a change at all for us. That is how we operate. It's in terms of managing interests that members of a board or committee may have, and we operate in that way and have operated in that way for quite a while. In fact, we're somewhat conservative and erring on the side of recusal when we have issues. But again, if there's vote feedback wanted on that legislation, we see, at least the board sees it as codification of best practices. So by and large, things are running quite well, and we appreciate the strides the city has taken.
So where are you with there's 3 of you and an alternate, correct?
5 and an alternate.
Oh, 5 and an alternate. And where are you in the staffing? Like, is anybody just about their term just about up or out?
Yeah, I'm not aware. I mean, I'm not aware of terms. I have lost track. I have lost track of how long I have been on, both as a member of the board and as chair. Staff and I we scratch our heads to try to figure out that date. But we have some relatively new members. We have good continuity and new faces. So the short answer is I can't answer you with any specificity as to where we are on terms.
So
Yeah, we need to update that. And what happened before this present council came on board is city council would make appointments and there would not be any paperwork prepared from that appointment. So now we're trying to do formal resolutions so someone can go back and find out when someone was appointed and what the term is. So we're working on that. So there could be some instances where we're uncertain. Yep. But we're doing the best that we can at trying to estimate that someone is up and then reappointing them for a term.
So how will we resolve this? Because do we want the chairs to?
So if you know that you have a vacancy, and you guys are pretty good about letting us know in the planning commission, but if you would let our clerk of council know when there is a vacancy coming up and encourage your members if they know that they're not going to want to serve anymore, to give us a heads up so we can start looking to fill that. And when we've heard from everyone, then we'll talk about some of the things that we've been discussing in terms of best practices and uniform procedures and rules for all of the commissions. But thank you. Yes.
Looking at the ordinances, it looks like the term is 4 years and there is nothing that specifies that they have to be staggered like is the case with some of the other groups.
Thanks. Jessica, if you just want to introduce yourself real quick.
Yes, hi, Jessica Cohen, Chair of the Planning Commission. Sorry, I was coming from another meeting.
No, that's all right. We appreciate you coming here. And basically, this is just an opportunity to hear from all of you all about how things are going, what you need from council, and we'll share with you some of our thoughts going forward or some of the things that we're trying to do to modernize things, catch up on the paperwork. So we're just going around the room hearing from everybody. You're up next. We'll just go around that way.
All right, so the Architectural Board of Review. I've been the chair since I think the beginning of this year, and I've been on the board since the beginning of 21. In this past year, I think there's been complete turnover of the other members. So many members have been there for some time. So now we have fairly new membership and new alternates. So it's a fresh team. Other than myself, it's been there almost 4 years, so I don't know if my term is up. But I'll stay. I enjoy the work. In terms of the work we do, it's a wide range of projects, and I put them together in terms of the order of the kinds of things that land in front of us. Replacement garages are the number one thing that shows up in front of us, followed by window replacement, then solar panel installations, which is a little surprising, but it is more and more one of the most common things that comes in front of us. And then there's small renovations that might be anything from porch enclosures or reconstructed porches, residential additions, signage. Kind of lower on the list, commercial and institutional projects, most of which end up being storefront renovations. And tailing up the end fences, new and replacements, usually when it involves changing it from something that was different kind of fence or that it involved Board of Zoning Appeals approval, which is usually a corner side yard. And then roof replacements last, and the only time roof replacements show up in front of us is if someone's replacing a roof with a different material, and usually that means slate and tile to asphalt shingles. And for us, unfortunately, in spite of some changes to the application form, 95% of the time it's in front of us after someone started construction. And neighbors are unhappy, and that's actually in the last 3 months has happened at least 3 times. But that's kind of the range. Generally speaking, everyone is receptive to our comments. There isn't a lot of contention around those kinds of projects. I think that one of the things that might make the whole process just a little more smooth within the meeting context, there's a couple of things that happen in terms of people trying to download their submissions. The software that's involved with it will sometimes flip the submissions, they're rotated in the wrong directions, or they end up in triplicate on the online version. So I think in part, they're supposed to download them. There's supposed to be 3 copies that are in front of us at the meeting. And sometimes there's 3 digital copies that are rotated every which direction online. And people struggle with that input. I've never actually tried it myself, so I don't know if it's hard or not. And then during the meeting, we might have an agenda item where there's 3 or 4 notes. And we say, well, approve as noted. Well, then 3 members are all busily scribbling all those notes on these pages. Sometimes everyone's handwriting is a little different or maybe not legible. And it seems like there ought to be some way to digitize that process rather than everyone scrawling notes on 3 copies. It seems just a little antiquated. I haven't seen that approach at other boards of review that I'm often presenting to. Just a thought. Isn't a problem, but
Who is your contact person with the city administration? Is it Karen Knittel or someone else?
Garrett is the primary point of contact in terms of agendas, minutes. And then Eric Zamp is often copied on this.
Have you discussed any of this with Eric about the,
No, but as this meeting came up, I was like, well, what?
yeah. And for those, I wouldn't hesitate to bring it up and discuss it to Garrett, because if he doesn't, know it's a problem and it's something that's easily fixed, we ought to be doing it.
Yeah, and it's not like it's a big problem,
Yeah.
but it's an observation.
Right, and this is the chance to hear about these sort of things that we can take some action on them or ask the administration to.
And IT, we could certainly have them look at this, right?
Yeah. Thanks.
That's all.
Anything else?
All right, so Pete Titus, Parks and Recreation. We've worked on little things over the course of the years, getting dogs allowed in parks, trying to get people access to the pool. One of our prime functions is to community scholarships for programming in the city. And we've really struggled, we have a very nice problem where we have $90,000 in the scholarship fund, and almost no way to get rid of that. We recently upped the scholarships from 50% to 100%, but I don't even think that that's going to make a dent in it. We've tried with the city to get information on where the legislation is, on what we can and can't do. We looked at recently trying to get to the point where we can offer scholarships to more entities. Right now, the only ones that can use the money are city-run programs. So like in the past, hockey used to be something where you could get money from the city, get a scholarship from the city, but because we've sort of separated, that's no longer the case. Same with soccer, same with some of the baseball programming. And we've talked to everyone. I think it's Jonathan Wilhelm is now helping us out in lieu of not having a Parks and Rec director. He's been great, and we've made the most progress in the last couple of months with him. But what we'd really like to do is to figure out what we can actually do to get money to more entities, to more kids, to more programs within the city. We have $90,000. It's all from the Happy 5K, and we've come a long way. I've been on this committee forever. My first couple of years, we were doing like chili cook-offs and raising $500, and so that really is the main thing that we are working on right now.
I don't think any of us knew that this money is sitting being underutilized.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm speechless.
This is my third year helping with the Happy 5K, and this year we raised just shy of $20,000 to add to that.
No, that's including that. So
Okay,
that we was at about 70, and then I think so it's now at about 90.
So I'm aware of a number of people who are like having conversations about recommendations that we might be able to make to try to make sure that people are benefiting from that money. So I know the law director mentioned something to me. If I remember correctly, the mayor said that he was also interested in reevaluating that. I know the folks within the planning team for the event were discussing ideas. So hopefully we'll all be able to share those different ideas and make something happen soon.
That would be great.
So so how was this supposed to work? I mean, I understand that, I know how the raising the money works, but how was it, like, what was the understanding of how it went? Like, who would be eligible for it and how that would happen?
So someone from the community needs to show a financial need. I don't have the list of documents in front of me, but basically if you can show that you're getting food stamps or something like that they can go ahead and do it. And now the city just goes ahead, and once they show that, there used to be a 50% discount button that they would hit on the system, and the money would transfer within house, from the scholarship fund to the program where it was supposed to go. But what we feel like is there are so many programs that are run within the city that are no longer city run. As an example, my son grew up playing hockey, and I know that those funds you used to be able to use them for hockey. But because the Eastside Tigers and the Cleveland Heights Hockey Association aren't in the same place anymore, now Eastside Tigers can't use that. So there's a whole program where kids can't use that money. Mike Payne is on our committee and does flag football with the kids, and he because it's not a city-run program, even though it's mainly city kids, he has no access to that money. Soccer, same thing, that some of those programs are not run by the city, but there are city kids in them. And so that what our goal is to try to do at this point is, in addition to funding them at 100%, is to find a way to get more programs, to allow more programs to use those funds.
What rec programs does the city still run? Basketball? And
basketball, I think some of baseball, swimming lessons in the summer. Even when a family shows need, obviously pool passes for the summer, but rec center passes as well. But that's exactly the problem. There just aren't nearly as many programs that are run by the city as there were before.
one other thought that occurs to me, and I don't know whether the advisory board had involvement in this, is setting the various fees for our recreational activities.
I don't
Since you've
think-
been on it, were you?
I have not been involved in that, no, and I've been on it for quite a long time.
Because it occurs to me that we used to pass an ordinance every year, and I don't think we've done that recently, where we set the fees for all of the recreation programs and classes.
There must have
Yes.
been, I don't know if it was for all the fees, but we know that, and I don't know if these qualify as fees, at Kane Park, you know, the ticket ceiling and, you know, where it used to be like the highest you could pay for, you could charge for a ticket was like $125. I know that somewhere along the line that got up to like 250. So somebody did something with that within the post-COVID era. So
We'll have to do some research on that, because I think the last time the council ever passed anything on the recreation fees was in 2020.
okay.
So it definitely needs to be updated. Has a council member been coming to any of your meetings?
Not recently. The last couple ones, we've not had any representation from council.
And, you know, I don't know if you overheard us talking that the city has hired a recreation
I
director.
did hear that, yes. Yeah.
Guess they just started today.
We look forward to meeting him.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Patty Substelny. I live on Coventry Road. And I am chair of the Citizens Advisory Committee. And what we do is we determine the distribution of the community development block grant funds, which are allotted to the city every year. This year, our budget's about 1.5 mil, which is down from when I started, which was about 4 years ago. I've been chair for 2 years. I have, I think, 18 people on the roster. I know exactly when they started, but probably only 10 or 11 come to meetings.
18, is that the full capacity?
Full complements
Okay.
between 18 and 21.
I'm sorry, what was the full complement of Parks and Rec?
It is 9. We are currently at 9, but we may be losing someone. So
I'm sorry, Patty.
No, that's okay. So, yeah, full complements between 18 and 21 under our regs. We have several who will probably roll off this year. We had several who have already rolled off this year. So one of the asks I would have is to help sort of develop get involved in Cleveland Heights sort of thing where maybe all of us could get together and promote getting more involved on commissions and things like that. Because we could certainly use the help. Once a year, we have to go out to all of the organizations who requested grant money from the CDBG, and there's 30 grants we have to review. We have 18 people, so we double up on several grants. We have to do visits to the organization. We, get together and then we hash out who gets what money. And so it's a big process. Like my zoning colleague said, we have a lot of good support from the planning department. Brian Iorio is our representative, and he is very, very good for us. To answer your question, we had Gail Larson coming to our meetings maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. And then last year when I asked who was our representative, I don't know if I ever knew. And then I think Brian said Tony, you were, but then we weren't sure, so we're going along our merry way and I'm spending all the money that they give me.
Recommend.
Yeah, I mean, it was never made, but that does create a question, like, should I be, I mean, I can't really, I could ask people, I can't really tell them they have to go.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we're gonna work on is making sure that every committee that needs a council liaison, there is one. And some do and some don't.
Well, it's one of these things where they don't have to come to every meeting.
Yeah.
But if we have a question, like we're largely guided by housing and urban development. They tell us what things we can spend on and what percentage of our budget can we use on certain things. And, it's a good thing I'm a digit head because it's a lot of money running around trying to figure out, what I can put where. But we don't need a council person at every meeting. We just need a liaison should we have a question. So from that perspective, I think we need a name.
Yeah, and once a year, we do vote. I mean, your work comes to us in the form of legislation, and it would be nice, and maybe it should be me, I mean, I don't wanna decide this minute, but we should have somebody on council that can say, yes, I went to the meetings, and you know, if there's 2 or 3 allocations that we have questions about, you know, they could be kind of pre-asked, if you will, and pre-answered, and
Well, our presentation is usually given to council several weeks before you have
Yes.
to vote on it. Because it is so lengthy and so detailed. But Brian and I do put together a presentation about it.
right. But I still think, you know, there should be one council person that's
Sure.
more, you know, because then you have 7 people that are blank slates,
Right.
you know, getting it at once. So thank you for that, that's a good point.
Thanks.
I'm Maisie Adams, I'm the chair of the Landmark Commission. We have 7 members, we're at our full contingent. We have gone in the post-COVID years for many months without our full contingent, which can be hard, so it would be great if I don't know if there's a way to review how people get appointed to commissions, but that would be helpful. I know in the past, I've been chair for about 10 years, I've been on the commission for longer than that, and I don't know how long. But in the way back past, planning staff were able to have input to council on recommendations of who might make, of all the candidates, who would be a great addition. And I think it's great if staff, I assume for other ones too, staff or the chairs, we don't make the final appointments, but we may know what we're missing, because you know, we need to have specific people in our group, so who we can recommend. So that would be great. Landmark Commission, we've been working hard in the last number of years to bring our commission in alignment with our neighboring cities and what they have, City of Cleveland, Shaker Heights, all around. We've been doing a lot of work. We've been receiving state funding to work on that. We have created design guidelines so that it is helpful for the property owners when they come to us, what they know we will be looking for. There's information for everyone. We created them so that they could be helpful to anyone in the city of Cleveland Heights. And right now we've been going through a major process to review and make recommendations for updates to our ordinance. So it is in alignment with not only other communities around us, but also what's been going on with zoning and everything else, because we are a part of that. And so Eric has been wonderful, and Brooke, we've really been working on making sure that we are, it hasn't been reviewed in quite some time, so we really want to make sure. We miss having a council rep that comes to our meetings on occasion, and I think particularly with this ordinance work that we've been doing, we have a third-party contractor that's working with us in the planning department, but it would be great to have someone from council who is in that conversation, so that when if it ever comes to you, it's not, as you said, the first time you're all seeing it. I think that would be helpful. Because our goal is to right? Our goal is to make our community as wonderful as possible. A lot of what we do is in alignment with what ABR does. When we're looking at properties, I think that we have been working to streamline the process when there's overlap with a property, so that the homeowner doesn't have to go to you and then to me and then back to someone else. We're trying to make it easy. We always want to work with the property owner. We don't like to fight. I'm not a fighter. I'll advocate, but I'm not gonna fight. And so we've been working on that to try and streamline that. One of the things that I think would be helpful for both of us, there are certain things that come to us all the time, garages, cell phone towers, things like that. If there were some standard samples of what we've already looked at and approved as plans that someone could then pick from, that would be really great, because then they can just, pick plan A, B, C, or D, and then they don't have to go through the whole process with us. I think that wouldn't be too hard for maybe. I'm sure we would have to hire someone to do that. But it would be really, it would help, I mean, I think you guys see garages
It's the most frequent.
all the time, right?
So here's the stupidest question ever.
Yeah,
When would I go to a landmark commission when I would go to our?
If your property is officially a City of Cleveland Heights landmark, you're gonna, anything that you're doing to the exterior of your property that is within view of the public right of way, you're coming a landmark.
How would I know if I'm a landmark?
You would know. But you would, you would, but
So-
also it would be,
so
when you bought your property, it would be part of that. And then if you became a landmark, like we have properties every year that become landmarks, and they go through a whole process of application. Right now, it's the owner, it comes from the owner. But we review the same thing that ABR does. There might be a way to streamline it so that you wouldn't have to go to both of us. We're doing the same review that they are, so why not just come to us? You know, there's opportunities for streamlining what we do. Yeah, we are very dedicated to preservation and using preservation as an economic development tool. I think we've seen that happening more often in Cleveland Heights, and it should be something that it is a regular tool that the city uses for economic development. We're seeing it with the Tudor Taylor Stadium Square development, you know, it happened over at College Club. There are a lot of opportunities for that. So we often feel like we're in a little silo way over on the side, and we'd rather be in the mix.
so you said you have 7 members and you're staffed up now,
We are staffed up now, yes.
but you said that there have been times when you've been waiting and waiting. Okay.
Yeah, but we're good now.
Do we have people in the wings, if anybody?
Well, I think we've just appointed 1 or 2 this
It
year.
doesn't often happen, yes, we just got a new
Oh,
person that
Jim
came in
was
today. And or this year, and we don't frequently have turnover.
Okay.
We usually know it's coming, but I think the idea of advocating or doing a push, you know, join a commission, do something.
Like a volunteer fair.
Right, is always good, so that just people know what's available, that they can.
Thank you. Oh,
If
sure,
there's
I'm
a
sorry.
way, to your point, how do you know you're a landmark property? If there's a way that it's an automatic flag, that if somebody comes because they want to do, work on a property, if they pull a permit, it automatically pops up in the city system that it's a landmark property, so that they haven't already ripped off their slate roof or done something prior to us even knowing about it. That would be helpful. I
Is
don't know.
there somewhere I could look up where the landmark properties are?
There's a database that's online, and there's a fair amount of them. It's
And-
great, and we're adding new ones every year.
Who's your contact person within the administration?
Brooke with Planning Commission and Eric.
Former student of mine.
She's great.
Yeah.
And Eric has been, I echo everyone else, he's been great.
And the suggestions you've made, have you talked about those with Eric?
Yep.
Okay. Has he given you any feedback on that or just said?
He's been
Okay.
good to work with, and we found ways to keep moving. I know with like our ordinance rewrite, we're kind of stuck now because we're not sure what the next steps are in going to council and how do we make that, I mean, we know technically what the next steps are, but what are the best next steps on including you in that process, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Aaron.
Yeah, so Tam, we're 2 meetings in. I know we kind of recently had a kickoff. We're full, everybody's coming. We got Danny as our co-chair, Gail is our council person, she's great, they're both great. I give y'all a couple updates. Our ideas are all over the place, so we don't have an ask right now, but you better believe when I come back.
Aaron, how many members?
How many? I think is it 8 of us?
Should be
Maybe at the
7.
bottom, so there's 7. And it's
Plus
8 plus,
the administrator.
yeah.
Has Danny been coming? Or
Mhm,
someone?
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Got anybody in a wheelchair?
Huh?
You got anybody in a wheelchair?
Yeah, we do. Yep. Kemp is coming, holding down the fort. Okay, so I'll give y'all some updates. We got a co-chair, we got a secretary, we're meeting once a month. We're reviewing the Completing Green Streets policy right now. But so what we did our first meeting was we all got together, we brought some of our goals to the meeting. And then we went to council. We asked Dana to get a note from the city, I should say, for some of our suggested priorities. So we got 4 priorities. We'll take our goals, align them in those priorities, and then try to create some type of public forum to get feedback on what's important to everybody else, and then prioritize our goals based on that information, and then hit the ground running. So I think that we probably need to figure out some type of checkpoint process with the city where when, street projects happen, when other stuff, things come up, how can we be a part of that process? What information can we study? What data can we have to familiarize ourselves with the current climate of what's going on as it concerns transportation and mobility? We also got other ideas like fixing curbs here and there, making certain things ADA compliant. A lot of the people on the committee are connected to the community, right? So they got a lot of neighbors reaching out to them, reporting back things. So recently we talked about folks going up Lee Road, and there's these open dining areas, but it makes the walkway narrow. Right, yeah, so they're like, is this ADA compliant for folks in wheelchairs and whatnot? So we're really just trying to just get a pulse check on what's important to the community, and then listen out the things that we are aware of, and coming up with a plan of action. So it's new, everybody's excited, dedicated. They are not playing about this, so it's gonna be good, yeah.
Good on you for seeing that, yeah.
That's all I got.
Jessica?
Hey, Planning Commission, well, Craig, you know all about Planning Commission. So I have been on the Planning Commission almost 10 years because I was 8 months pregnant with my 9-year-old when I was appointed. I have been chair, I think, for over 5 years because before COVID, whenever you were appointed and left us. And we are fully staffed now. We have 7 members. We historically have had a very difficult time getting our seats appointed. This was pre all of you. This was prior to me being chair. And we also, for many, many years, maybe the entire history until just recently, were predominantly, if not all, male commission until I joined. And now we have a full complement of diversity on the commission, which is very nice and which we pushed for when we were trying to fill our last 1 or 2 seats. So that's very good. And we have a nice balance of experience. Also across the commission, we have Landmark, Jessica Wobig, who's Landmark, specialist, and that's her area of expertise. We have some lawyers, we have some community folks. We have Len Horowitz, who's been here for 35 years and is our resident planning historian. So we really have a great commission, and we also have a fantastic staff. And I think for the last, I would say, 5 years or so, we've really been very proactive on not only the cases that come to us and making sure that there is the appropriate amount of community engagement and that things are moving and that the planning, the conversations are happening around conditional use permits and what needs to happen to make these big developments actually move forward. But we've been proactive in terms of taking on new opportunities. And so the grants on the accessory dwelling units is one example. The work that we've been doing over the last 3 years on houses of worship in the zoning code to make a place for that. And also taking on annual code reviews, which I don't think is required by, I take that back. I do believe it's required by ordinance. I don't believe it has always been done. And so we took that on as well. That all being said, the problem for us, and I think the biggest difficulty that we have, is that the process to actually, we can initiate zoning code changes, which we do, both from I would say, a small minor point, and I don't wanna discredit this, but like making the zoning code gender neutral, that was in our 2023 zoning code changes. Now it's not changing the, physical, what's going to be happening physically in the city, but it is an important change and we proactively have to do it. Nobody's gonna say, oh, it's time to make the code gender neutral. So it goes from that type to what we have proposed and been working on for almost 3 years of these houses of worship, which is to create a space where we can actually, as a city, respond to and regulate is a strong word, but have some control over how houses of worship exist in the city in all different forms, because we are now 100 plus years into the city and the zoning code no longer accommodates or has never accommodated the type of uses that we're seeing in the city. And so we can certainly initiate those and do the work, and the planning staff and the planning commission, I think, works beautifully hand in hand to get us to the point where we have legislation essentially that is ready to go for council review. However, my understanding is, and this is where we've had a bottleneck in the last, I would say 2 to 4 years, is that the legislation has to be proposed by the administration, is my understanding. And so this houses of worship, I think, has been sitting for at least 6 months, I think, since I presented. And I would say even more so, because it was part of the annual zoning code changes from December 2023 that we worked on and got to do pretty quickly, because I think planning staff knows the type of changes that we actually have a punch list. It's not just planning staff, it's the commission also. We have a punch list and we're just working our way through, small to big, whatever we can do, that's manageable for staff and for the commission. All of that is together and it's been stuck. And we finally had, should be available to you, I asked the planning staff and Eric Zam put this together, a memo that basically describes the saga of this and where it is. And it's still not clear. It seems like this is now being ensconced in a larger city administration effort around livable spaces. And so I'm waiting supposedly for a community meeting on this. I'm not sure if it's specifically on houses of worship or livable spaces, but it looks like the legislation is done and potentially completely written. And we're just waiting for them to transfer that to you all. So it's timely. Probably gonna have to email you guys about it at some point, but this is also indicative, I think, of a process obstacle that makes it difficult for us to make these small but very important zoning changes in the code, and also very large proactive efforts that we're making to really adapt the zoning code to modern day use, which we're just gonna have more of in the months and years to come.
So 2 things, as far as the legislation goes, I did think, or my recollection is that the law department did say that some changes needed to be made to that legislation as far as the parking part of it goes, but that, the bulk of it's done. But I wanna address a larger question. I'm gonna pontificate just a little bit.
Please.
It's in the best interest of the city that kind of legislation be something that the administration buys into. But having said that, look, everybody who gets on council is here for a reason. There's might have a few burning issues, they might have a lot of them, but there's nobody on council that doesn't care about anything. And there could be a time where, I'm gonna look at you now, Davida wants a dog park, she feels really strongly about that. I'm not getting the sense the administration feels as strongly about a dog park as she does. Does that mean that we shouldn't do it if, if it's not a priority? There's going to be exceptions to that. So I'm just saying, I don't know if it's on houses of worship, I wouldn't say, or places of worship. I don't know if I would say that. And I would say the general rule should be, that when council wants to initiate something, we should get buy-in from the administration. But, I wouldn't want that to be 100% airtight, because that would mean that there are gonna be people on council who may have an initiative that maybe the administration doesn't buy into, but it's still as far as 7 people or the majority of council, yeah, I think this is in the best interest of the city. So I wouldn't ever rule that out, but I wouldn't make it the rule of thumb. You see what I'm doing, I'm trying
Yeah,
to
I
thread a
think,
needle.
yeah, and I think that, what I've said to planning staff, and I've been quite forthright because I've lived here for 16 years, but I'm originally from New York and that doesn't really ever go away. But, I've said to them, it's okay that law wants to review it. And in fact, I
Yeah.
believe there's been 2 large law reviews of this particular piece. That's okay, but what's missing is like that communication between the planning commission, not just me, right? I can always call
Yeah.
and, and they could always call individually, but that type of formal communication back between the administration to the planning commission and also to council, to make sure that once we're ready to go, everybody's ready to go, right? Because this will take a few back and forths. It'll have to go to council. You will recommend that it comes to planning commission. We will approve its recommendation back to you, and then you will approve it. And so that type of with the monthly meetings and your meetings and the agendas, so we need a better way of sharing this information collectively within public meeting laws and all of that. And then I think also that will also allow for mid-course correction. If, for example, if Houses of Worship is really holding this up, it's also holding up not only gender neutral corrections, but also holding up our moving garage conditional use permit for not having a garage, right? Like we've added that to the code in the last few years. People will come to us and it's really supposed to be administrative approval. We originally did it because we thought we want to review everything, but now we've seen, to your point, we've seen, 50 garage replacements and we probably don't need to see all of them. And those code changes are in the last annual review that says this could be administrative, this has to come to the planning commission. So we'll have a meeting and seat an entire commission for 2 garages, which is not a helpful use of anybody's.
But I thought garages went to architectural review
They
board.
go all over the place.
They
Needs
go
a
all
conditional use permit, then to build it, then it goes,
we
And the
have-
landmark property,
Can't-
gotta come to
can't
me,
we
and if
figure
they
that
have an
out?
ordinance.
Yeah.
So we regularly have garage, the heights,
Right.
people putting additional
Variances.
spaces, second stories.
it's all
onto those.
different approvals need to come from different commissions.
So that the planning staff are the ones who are like, oh, it's gotta go here,
Yeah.
here, here, and here, if it needs to.
But to that point, that type of communication that I'm
Is that
discussing would allow us to
Yeah.
detangle things and really figure out like what we can move forward and what we can't. And it's very much always feels that the planning commission is kind of just waiting for things to happen, even though we've passed the ball.
So on the council end, I've actually recently, within the last month, asked Addie or council to regularly, anything that's just been kind of put in a dustbin, to make sure that she makes us aware, this 6 months ago, this legislation, what's the status of it? Or when we pass something, what's the administration doing to implement, that kind of thing. So that's our end. What I'm wondering on your end, because Karen Cannell, who comes to your meetings? regularly?
So Eric, Karen, and Brooke are all staff it,
Oh, so
depending
you-
on what the,
Okay,
not all 3 of the same. I mean, it depends on if we have a major development, like when we
Right.
had Top of the Hill.
Yeah, you're gonna get
that
the whole
everybody, just
so I take it you do ask, what's the status of,
all the time.
okay, all right,
But again, public meetings, I can't share with the commission what I'm learning from my inquiries, and that's why I asked actually for them to get I can't email the commission, is my understanding.
right,
So that's why we just had a memo. Eric put together a beautiful, very descriptive memo of the process, because in lieu of me being able to convey that or them conveying that at a commission meeting, in person verbally, there needs to be a way to communicate that.
but if you communicated something in an email and said, don't respond, that, you can't do that?
I was told I should
I don't
I should
think
not
we're
be
allowed
doing
to do
it. Staff does, and
Yeah, that's an open meetings issue.
You have to be careful.
Yeah.
Right, okay,
People often respond.
yes. Despite the
And
little
if
things
you
saying,
say-
please don't
yes.
reply all.
okay.
It's a slippery slope.
Have you seen the memo
Yes,
she's referencing?
Yes.
Okay.
I have,
That's good.
Yeah, it got passed to me by one of your members,
Okay.
but I don't think that's a memo that was sent to council.
I mean,
I
that's-
don't recall
No,
seeing
it
it,
was
so.
not. I don't recall seeing it.
Okay.
And I know at one point, we used to have a council member that would sometimes come to
Yeah.
planning commission meetings. inside.
I mean, I leave, my personal feeling
Yeah.
is, I leave it up to all of you, you know, you see the agendas, you certainly shouldn't come for the garage, cases or chicken coops
Right.
back when those were, you know, still coming to us, but, you know, certainly everybody's welcome.
So, and let me ask any of the quasi judicial folks, I often have a concern that if it's a hot button issue and that you have some council members that are there, that you're gonna somehow feel maybe pressured to vote one way or another.
No, I mean, it's even less so. Remember that we're the final decision maker on regular variances. That no longer goes to council. It's only the use variances. But I don't think there's anyone on the board who would feel at all intimidated by, you know, we know what the standards are, and so I think for most of what we do, it's probably not necessary for council to be there, because again, it doesn't go to council. If there's the contentious use variance, there's value to having someone from the council who said, I witnessed that, and can relay what happened in the proceedings that may not come across in the written record.
I think it would be helpful to have a council person who at least is familiar with our regular process, because then when there's a hot button issue that comes in, you already have a baseline understanding of how our conditions work that
Like the
have to make.
Alcazar, we had substantial overlap.
Right, and so if a council person has already come when it's a regular easy peasy agenda, you're more familiar about what we do in our process, so that when you come in and it might be something contentious, then you have a better understanding.
So let's get to John and, you know, but I wanna say, please email Addie and copy me when you want somebody to come, so that please feel free to do that. All of you. I show up at your BCA, ABR, if somebody says, hey, I want you to witness something, you know, I want you to be there. I don't speak, you know, I would never do that either at your meeting, but
I find it helpful when you're all there, because people ask about things that the planning commission with the larger developments we have no control over, development agreements or lots of things that you all are considering, so it allows us to point to you and say, phone your friendly council person.
but I wouldn't talk.
No, not there, no,
Yeah.
but I do, we do not mind if you show up and we do not feel pressure.
I love listening, those three especially, I love to listen.
Save the best for last.
Climate and Environmental Sustainability Committee. It was just formed this year. I was prior serving on TESC and the predecessor to TESC, which I guess was the Transportation Advisory.
Oh,
Board.
yeah.
Yeah, and so we joined, and then we were split apart, and we're now fully staffed with 7 people, 4 people appointed by council, and then 3 people appointed by council. Gail Larson is our council representative, and she attends all of our meetings. Our enabling legislation provides for Anthony Boateng, the sustainability coordinator, to be a non-voting member of our committee. And so I believe that we're unique in having literally a sitting council representative and a sitting administration representative on the committee. And that's been very, very useful to us in trying to figure out where we're going. The subject is extraordinarily broad, and we're brand new, so we must walk while they run. It's been quite interesting. From a needs assessment, yes, we need a city email address for the committee. We have a flood of requests and topics and ideas coming into us. We keep paper minutes, state-of-the-art 1950 paper minutes of our meetings. We do not record our minutes. Our meetings, we use minutes, and we believe that that's just fine. Don't need to record them. As I mentioned before, we're very happy to have both council and administration represented. We want term limits. We want conflict of interest statements required of all members. We very, very much want subcommittees because our topic is so big of climate and environmental sustainability. And we have been told repeatedly, we can't have subcommittees or ad hoc groups or rump groups. And there were 3 or 4 other terms that the law director said don't. So we'd like our enabling legislation to be amended to allow us to create subcommittees. Our topics are just too big. Recently, we're trying to get the Climate Action and Resiliency Plan, CARP, issued. So we have been working a little bit with Andy and Melanie Nutter, who is the outside consultant driving the CARP process. It's going to be issued in October or not. But the whole emphasis now is to get the CARP, first draft of the CARP, issued to the community. One of the things that we have been dancing a little bit around is that CARP is the top priority for Andy. It's clear that we don't want to step on his toes, so what does the committee do? And the committee has a wide array of topics that we can pick from to say we'd like the city to move forward in other areas other than the CARP so that we don't run afoul of or get into conflict with whatever is coming out in the CARP. We have 3 things that we're working on right now. One is citywide composting that will be coming up in the budget hearings to have drop-off points, probably driven by Rust Belt riders, at least the first year, but citywide composting for Cleveland Heights. The second topic is the how to advance what we hope will be a complete ban on gas-powered leaf blowers and other two-stroke, two-cycle lawn maintenance equipment, primarily from air pollution. We continue to flunk the PM 2.5 EPA standards for air quality, and two-stroke engines are a major contributor to why we flunk. So the committee's been working on that. One example is now we understand that when Cleveland Heights issues air quality alerts in the future, and you all see them in your inboxes, there will also be something saying that the city will not be using its two-stroke engine equipment on the day that we have air quality alerts, and recommends that homeowners and contractors not use their two-stroke equipment on days where we have air quality alerts. All that does is just pour more particulate matter into the air. We'd like to follow Baltimore and Portland and Washington, D.C. and other cities that have done complete phase-outs of gas-powered leaf blowers. We're just not sure if we're there yet. And the third thing is a tree commission, to get a tree commission that will do tree inventory, tree canopy assessment, and come up with maintenance plans for our existing trees and planting additional trees. So those are 3 areas: composting, gas-powered leaf blowers, and other two-stroke equipment, and a tree commission, where we're looking to help the city move forward without stepping on the toes of the consultant-driven CARP process. One of the things that we're also being called on is we're being called on to weigh in on proposals, and the example I'll use is the idea that we may have a dog park located at some point in the city. What does SESC think of dog parks and the insecticide residue from primarily dog urine and all, particularly located in the Dugway watershed? And so we get asked to opine on things as well as trying to move initiatives forward. I'll finish with something that has been vague to me and to other members of the Transportation Advisory Board in its prior iterations, is what do we do in terms of we have a number of things that we want to move forward on. We make the proposal. Does it go to our governing committee, which in our case is Municipal Services and Environmental Sustainability, MSES, and then up to council? Do our recommendations go directly to council? We have some things where we know the administration can simply put things in motion. We know some things we want the administration to move on, and we know there are some things we want council to move on. What we don't want to do is do all this work and have our recommendations die, which has been what's happened in the past. So we would like a tracking mechanism for our committees, council advisory committees, that say, what have you proposed and where has it gone? So that these things don't die. Thanks.
Oh, no, thank you. I promised,
Could I just?
sure, yeah.
Possible, just a curiosity. We've got all these boards represented. There's one board we haven't talked about. That's the Board of Control. And we had meetings in 2023 where there seemed to be some spurt of activity.
Severance, yeah, for severance, right.
Board of Control oversees severance. And we had been involved, we were called to meetings, we attended meetings, we came up with a vision statement. And that's it. The Board of Control is a special board. It's kind of the name is bizarre, Board of Control. But it's overseeing the severance property. And so we had our input then and complete radio silence. And again, I'm not lobbying for more activity or anything or sticking my nose in it. But we're just curious that we had, this board made up of leadership from various boards that would touch. The mayor involved us in that, and then we're just wondering if there's any role whatsoever or what is happening with.
I'd say council really has no role in that Board of Control, other,
No,
Well, I'm on it.
you're on
and
there,
the
but in
planning and
terms of.
development committee chair is on it.
Davida and I should be on it, we haven't met yet. So I think you're gonna see with this new initiative,
They'll probably call us.
I think they'll probably call us in, that's just a guess.
Yeah, again, I'm not volunteering more time.
No, but
Oh, they'll find you.
it's, it's been elevated. And do you guys all know that on November 12th, there's gonna be a meeting at the high school for input with Ryan Porter, who has got 20 months to come up with a plan that hopefully NAMDAR will buy into, and we'll have something. So this is all topical.
Thank you.
So I made a commitment to try and hold this meeting to an hour. We're coming up on that.
Do a lightning round?
Yeah, why don't you wanna run through these
Yeah.
real quick?
Can you guys, maybe 10 minutes of just, so you guys talked about resources from the city. Do you think we should be having uniform rules for all the or do you think these are different enough?
By species, the commissions, the council advisory boards, I mean, we've got a number of different structures
Sure.
represented
Yeah, I didn't wanna
here.
tell John I've got 4 subcommittees, cause he's gonna get really But, I mean, we got 4 different places where someone goes to get a garage.
How about attendance rules? Like, if you miss so many meetings,
Yeah, put that on there. I'm
I
about to
can
start
go
having
with
people
that.
down.
Like,
I mean, Patty, you 10 out of 20, that's,
Yeah, I say if you miss 6 meetings in 1 year, you're gone.
tell me where you're at.
Agreed.
6?
Ours
Well-
are probably in the ordinance. I would imagine.
Ours,
We
we
might have
redid
some
our
in there.
ordinance
There must be.
in the last 5 years. We put that in there, and I forget the specifics on it, but it's not missing the meeting, it's missing it and not letting anybody know.
Yeah,
I think is the
unexcused
language, yeah.
So 6 unexcused.
I think it.
I don't think ours is 6, but
I
I
don't
know
know
that that's
I
the
don't think you
language.
can put
Yeah.
a number.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like we're every other month, but you guys.
Yeah, I don't
Oh,
know
I
if
see.
it-
Yeah, we're
I would
we're
just say
monthly.
this, if you're having attendance issues with someone, first reach out to them to find out what's going on and then let us know, because particularly with the CAC, since those are annual appointments, if someone has an attendance issue, we simply won't reappoint them.
Right, and that's typically what I do, is I just don't reappoint.
And
I was just gonna say, planning should be at the discretion of the chair, because sometimes we have times when people have to miss because of work travel and things, but they're there for 7 years, so. Long haul.
Yeah, we don't have an issue.
how long are the terms on CAC?
1 year.
So that, and so I take it the terms are kind of all over the place.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Well, then,
And we typically, if someone wants to get reappointed, we reappoint. I know one agenda item is term limits. Some cities limit terms. We typically don't. If someone wants to continue to serve, we reappoint people.
I think it's hard to find people to fill.
Yes.
Many of us
Yeah.
have gone long stretches without a full contingent, so I would not wanna
Yeah,
put term
I don't
limits in.
see a need for term limits right now.
We enjoy having veterans because it's a quasi-judicial process, people who understand the process and get
Oh, yeah.
so they know how to make a record, they know how to get this done.
really necessary for. Recording the meetings, I understand minutes and paper, whatever, I mean, but
This has come up a number of times.
yes,
I strongly would request that we are allowed like video, because we did this during COVID and it was excellent, that we have video recordings of our major meetings, meaning when there's a preview of a large development, when a large development is up for approval. It not only helps with the record, and we do review those minutes pretty carefully to make sure that they're maybe more extensive than our garage minutes or things like that. But I think that it's also for public consumption because as a mom, not everybody's available at 7:00 to
Right.
come to a meeting. And to be able to watch that, like we do council meetings and things like that, I think is a valuable community resource. So it doesn't have to be everyone, but I do think that it should be available and maybe either staff or chair, could request
Yeah,
it.
half our
Would be
meetings.
good,
Yeah.
and then we have to find out, if the administrator,
And we have one video person
Right.
who's working tonight.
I mean, we've been told that, yes, I mean, and I'm sympathetic,
That's
sympathetic to that, but at the same time, when you have something like Top of the Hill, or we're gonna have Taylor Tudor or other things, these are the type of things we want the community to be able to reference
Yes.
after the fact.
Absolutely agree.
We have audio recording, which turns into minutes, which for
Yes,
us
we
is
have it.
preferable. I think video is not optimal for us. One thing we may do though to help staff out is, I don't know if we've got in our audio recording, the AI tools that do a very good job of transcribing minutes.
Transcription is great.
Yeah, and every time we have a turnover on staff, it takes them a while to understand the shorthand for what we do, but because we do have to create a written record in case there's a judicial proceeding and the like, but if there's a way to help staff out with the transcription, there are pretty inexpensive transcription tools that have gotten very, very good.
Compensation, you brought that up.
Yeah, some positions carry compensation, not very much.
Yes,
So-
my $81.06 a meeting.
So I'm gonna advocate for Landmark Commission because we're the same as ADR and planning and zoning, but we do not receive compensation. So we're a quasi judicial.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, that is a fair point, so.
Couple of Starbucks.
I mean, just throw me a bone every once in a while. That's actually in our ordinance rewrite, if we ever get that.
I would be happy with just a briefcase full of $50.
While you're looking at that, the subject of emails came up before. I think it is important that we try and find a way that you all do have an official email address for official city business. There's some proposed legislation by the mayor about city email requirements, but I think if we're gonna go that route, it needs to apply to all of you all who are public officials, including your members. And just wanted to make sure, I know Sunshine Law came up. Do you guys get any primer or info on following the Sunshine Laws? Or is that something we?
It has been a while since we.
Okay.
I can't recall that.
Planning Commission, we never had trainings, we never, in the 10 years, we have not had one city-sponsored, aside from what I have brought in. We did a diversity training on diversity and zoning, and we brought in a speaker. That was the only training.
We had Bill Hanna come in and give us a Sunshine Laws 101, and it was 20 minutes long, fantastic handout. And then when we brought our second batch of appointees in, we gave them the handout. So it was an excellent handout.
I think if you give us emails, there should be definitely guidelines because, you know,
Okay. Yeah, I kind of ended the process. We used to have a practice where there'd be a preview meeting and it was intentionally staffed in a way that we didn't trigger the sunshine law, but when I became chair, was very uncomfortable and I said, I'm no longer doing that. I think we said we're no longer gonna do those preview meetings. Everything happens in a public meeting if
yeah,
we're gonna
I think
discuss
that's the problem with, I like the idea of everyone having emails, but it can get sticky
Well,
because
I
we
mean,
might
regardless
be
of
doing
whether you
business
Just want one.
when we shouldn't be.
We
I
just
mean,
want
maybe there should just be a
inbox.
landmark commission at Cleveland, City of Cleveland Heights or
Well,
I mean, even to the point where I try to have an off meeting, like just everybody get together on my front porch for cider and donuts. And the law department was really upset about it because of sunshine laws.
yeah, you can't.
That we were gonna be talking city business at this offsite and there would be no public record. I mean, I couldn't even have a
Yeah, it's
a little team building cider and donuts party.
Because
That's baloney.
I'm not sure I want an official email because the public comments go directly to planning
Yeah.
staff.
Yeah.
And they forward that to us en masse, depending on the case. So I would actually prefer that residents don't contact me directly because the planning staff then, like, they tell us which case, they tell us, they organize everything for us. Otherwise, it would just be,
I
Yeah,
agree.
I'm worried about our record being unclear, being unclear, because we do get public comment on our cases that comes to planning staff. Planning staff presents them to us, we formally make them part of the record of the case, and so we're clean about that. If we had a bunch of random emails coming in, I can't stand the garage they're building or whatever, it's gonna really complicate our ability to have a clean record on it.
I agree. I don't know that I think it's great that it goes through staff.
Oh, I don't want.
Yes, so one thing to note is that even if it's done over a private email, if the subject is related to your positions, it's still considered a public record.
Right.
So if you currently have like folks on any of your boards, committees, commissions that are talking with one another, those are technically public records and subject to public records requests. And so having a city email could, make that simpler if there is, for example, public records request submitted, rather than having to go through your own email and trying to figure that out. The city's law department would be able to more easily fulfill those.
Yeah, but your point is, I don't want, the email shouldn't be
No.
coming to me or any other members of the board, it should be coming, if there's an email address that says, Board of Zoning Appeals, Cleveland Heights, that I would prefer that be managed by staff.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
and-
I think my comment was separate, and maybe this touches on the sunshine training, and maybe it's the case that you all got it because your groups were like newly created. But maybe requesting that the law department talk with folks so that they're aware that if you talk with one another over email, even if you don't have a quorum, those are still public records, just to make people aware of that.
I think we are all aware that whenever we email staff or staff emails us on anything to do with the planning commission, that's public record, even though we're using our own email addresses. So
And
that's-
I know on our commission, we don't email each other about topics.
No.
Because we don't wanna get anywhere
Yeah.
near sunshine laws.
Yeah, but isn't that awful?
No.
Like, we're
No,
not,
this is how the city.
I know that's how, I know,
Remember, I mean,
I
that's,
know
We're gonna
that's
sue
how it
the
works,
city over a case that we.
but let's talk
managed.
about how divisive that makes each of the commissions.
I-
it doesn't, because we're
This is our
discussing,
control.
you're talking
State.
about you're still talking about it, you're just talking about it in a public forum.
We want, from our point of view, we want the public to be confident
Right.
that we're being completely transparent in what we're doing, we're affecting people's property rights, right? And subsequent owners' property rights, there's the consequences to what we do. We want the public to know what we're doing and why we're doing it. And it's why we avoid any side conversations about matters before us. It's easier for us because it's a case or it's not a case. But that's important to us that we keep that separate.
And that's where we're different. We're different than the judicial
Yeah.
committees.
Yeah.
Where we just have a flood of emails coming to our individual emails about, please do this and don't do that, and is the city gonna do this? And we'd like to have one inbox.
Yeah.
Cesc@clevelandheights.gov.
Yeah.
And we'll appoint somebody to monitor it, and it's discoverable if there's some question.
Okay, All right, folks. I really appreciate, we all appreciate you all coming in. I think we're gonna start trying to do this on an annual basis, but in the meantime, if you ever have any issues or problems that come up, please reach out to the council president.
Well, I actually would like them to reach out to you and Patty, because, no, this is the chair, I'm not the chair of this committee. I'm only on this committee because I didn't want anybody to have to serve on more than 3 committees, I was glad to do it. But, no, I would really like them always to reach
Yeah.
out to the chair.
I run into it,
And-
Starbucks all the time.
And always have our clerk of council who they work very, very well together to make sure the committees are staffed and, you know, that we're, reaching out to the community. And Patty, I take you very seriously about your suggestion about, doing serious recruitment. It's important, it's very important.
We do try to strive to have some diversity on all of these boards across,
Last 3 years have been.
not just race and gender, but also geographic.
Yes.
So we are striving to do that. In some cases, it's not always possible based upon the pool of applicants that we get.
This was very enlightening. I really appreciate it.
How frequent for these?
Pardon me?
How frequent? When's the next time? You say annual, like once a year?
Yeah, once a year.
Okay.
And we'll try and be clearer about the start time.
That's okay, we all got it.
On the record for that.
Yeah,
So let's
it's on the city's website. The three of us are gonna chat.
Okay. Let's see,
Shouldn't they had their.
since they had something else in front of me, got an iPad.
Local
Yeah, I did it the first time
Thanks
using
again.
it like a month ago, and so I'm still.
it easy, y'all.
Thanks for all your work, everyone.
So we're gonna be on the air for like 5 more minutes.
Okay. If you.
Yeah,
If you wanna hang around, we'll be done.
yeah.
Okay.
I just thought maybe we could talk about next steps.
So our goal is how do we get the money out of the cities, those entities, that's what we're struggling with.
When you get to that point, I will be happy to.
Excellent.
Thank you.
I think we've heard from them that answered some.
Oh, okay.
That was about the email addresses and how.
Gotcha. Oh, okay, I was curious how that is.
Most of them
How do you know?
felt it was a bad idea, except for some a couple of groups wanted organizational emails, which I don't see any impediment to them having an organizational city email. If it's one of our committees or boards, and that could, and Addie could be the gatekeeper on that. I think we heard from them on the uniform rules, they thought they were all different enough that they didn't want them. I think on the council liaisons, a lot of that would fall on the planning and development chair or vice chair or members of her committee. But the other ones, if there isn't a good council fit, you could seek volunteers from among the council members about who would like to be a council liaison to that. And then I just think you could make the appointments if people
Well, I
wanted
could
to do
ask.
that. You could ask. Yeah, I don't think you could force anyone to do that.
What about recording? I mean, we should bring this up. Should I bring that up with the mayor? Because that's a staff issue, administrative staff issue. If the only person that said we should record was planning, and that was if and when there's a major development, so.
Right. But we should look into budgeting or purchasing some recording equipment that any of these other, like the recreation board, just something that the chairperson could turn on to record the meeting, because no one is there taking notes and preparing minutes. And we really should, at a minimum, have a sound recording of these meetings. We could ask Addie to look into the cost of some halfway decent audio equipment that has one of those omnidirectional
Yeah,
speakers that he
right.
would put in the table. And then after the meeting, it can just be, uploaded into some repository. So we do have a record of these meetings.
And then there was the money for the Landmark Commission.
Yeah, that's probably worth drafting some legislation to compensate them.
And nobody said, I think we should make more money, but when we get what's the firm that's doing the salary study thing?
Forget their name.
Oh, God.
Yeah, but
Well, they're coming to us.
right, and I don't know whether they're gonna make any recommendations or even if they looked at the compensation that we're paying.
Well, if they did, let's at least, apply
Consider,
it.
should
Yeah, I mean,
consider what,
Yeah.
I think, the planning commission is $90. And then after taxes or PRS or whatever, it's 80 something.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So two other things in addition to that. It sounds like they're open to an attendance requirement. While they don't want term limits, it seems like there's a general consensus on attendance requirements. The one group, was it BZA or Parks and Rec, that mentioned that they included it in theirs. I found the language. It says, any member who misses 4 or more meetings in a calendar year, and I understand that the number of meetings varies from group to group, without providing advance notice of his or her absence to the chair shall be considered unable to serve and deemed to have resigned his or her membership on the board. So that's what exists for one group. Maybe there are some ideas for how to create them for other groups. And then the other is the Sunshine Law. I think that, it's great that they received an update from the law director. I think everyone should receive that. I think honestly, every group, every year, including council, should get that.
Yeah.
So I think honestly, making that a requirement would be.
Yeah, at a minimum, we'll make sure that everyone gets the Sunshine Law manual.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't remember, I'm looking over, I got a lot of notes here, but I think those are the things. So here's what I think we ought to do. I think we ought to create a memo, Craig, if you could, maybe with Addie or something, and send something out to the chairs, to each committee, saying this is what we discussed. And here's what we're gonna follow up on, so that I just wanna make sure nothing gets lost.
Yeah.
And then, is there anybody who didn't make it or couldn't? I don't have a list of all.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm sure when I walk out of the room, there'll
Can you
be
think of
someone
any,
that didn't
maybe it
appear.
wasn't
not sure.
represented tonight? I know this is the Civil Service Commission wouldn't have come because we don't make any of those appointments.
I think we hit the major groups.
Eventually, we will need to add an Arts Commission, the Arts Commission, and I assume eventually that'll happen, and
CIC.
CIC, yeah. Except,
Not the CIC.
I mean, it's so,
That's a separate entity, Yeah,
it's not,
just like the Board of Control, the mayor is the chair of that, right? He's the
Yeah, okay.
person that calls the meetings, and the CIC is gonna have the board of directors that you guys are on. You'll set your own meetings, not gonna report to council on
Yeah.
that.
So, I mean, maybe that kind of summary and send something to the chairs thanking them for their attendance, and if there is a chair that wasn't here, certainly.
I'll make sure that they get a copy of that.
All right, that's all I got.
Okay, all right, we're gonna call the meeting to a conclusion. It's 7:22, 7:23. Good night if anyone's watching.